Welcome to Interesting Choices, a podcast where we look at media and the interesting choices that led to their production. I'm one of your hosts, Kate.
And I'm Sky.
So, Sky, what are we watching this week?
So today we're talking about a little piece of forgotten weirdness from the 90s, 1994 to be specific, Island City.
What a weird movie. What a weird year. 1994.
Yeah, definitely. Filmed in Irving, Texas. It released originally March 4th, 1994.
So, say that I don't know anything at all about Island City.
Mm-hmm.
What is the elevator pitch for what this movie is?
So, in the future, humanity has discovered I keep wanting to say the cure for immortality, the secret to immortality, the Fountain of Youth drug. And things are okay right up until the drug causes people with certain recessive genes to gain super strength and go crazy.
They Hulk out.
Yeah, definitely. In the worst way. In the worst David Banner way. There's basically a strong person apocalypse, and the last remaining bastion of humanity is a single city surrounded by giant floodlights that protect it somehow. I'm assuming it's a force field. And their mission is to... they never make that clear.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to protect the last bastions of humanity.
Yeah, they're just trying to survive, I guess, in this...
Yeah, they're doing a real bad job of it, though.
Yeah. Whoever decorated the city also decorated most major malls, it seems like.
All of their decor is just malls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing else, just malls. Which, I'm here for.
I kind of dug it.
We're in a timeline where we may have to just start building cities and malls anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've all been abandoned. Might as well use them for military bases and hospitals.
Well, I mean, there's a military base and a hospital, and then there's the nightclub that we go to twice, and the camera certainly pans out on a lot of people living their lives that we never see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this movie had some grand ambitions.
Oh, yeah.
The first and probably most important of which is it wanted to launch a syndicated TV show of some sort, right?
I mean, that's the hope with most pilots, but this one definitely seemed to be very optimistic about their chances. In the opening, we start with a cold open to a lady on some sort of homestead. She's attacked by the people. Everyone shows up in the future vans.
Let's talk about these people that she's attacked by.
Oh, yeah.
Because, even going back to the very first shot of this entire endeavor, this is the future, post-apocalyptic prairie woman here.
Yeah, everyone who doesn't live in the city lives in, 1843.
Yeah, the people in the city dress like future 80s music video, shoulder pads and weird cutouts on all their clothes, camo things on their soldiers in the sort of like pre-digital camo era.
And it's blue camo too, in what looks like mostly a red desert, like a red-yellow desert.
It is so bizarre. But all of the quote-unquote normal humans that live out in the desert wastes are just like Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
But then they're attacked by these recessives, the people who have these recessive genes that this immortality drug has turned into these big, hulking, muscular...
Very angry, very aggressive.
Looking things. Yeah.
Because they say specifically after the cold open during the exposition dump title sequence, super strong, super psycho, but they seem pretty capable of using firearms and reasoning.
Yeah, they all have like just regular machine guns, which I don't know where they're getting them or how they're maintaining them in the desert, because I'm not much of a firearms person, but I know that you gotta clean your guns.
Yeah.
If you're living in sand, or you just won't have guns anymore. But all these people have very nice very nice military weapons.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say business casual clothes, but not the
Bloody-
sort of things that you would expect to see on super psychotic Hulk monster people. Like, they just seem to dress like they're going to go out and plow some fields on a tractor.
They're all wearing shorts. They're kind of torn. One guy has a very gross jacket. I'm guessing that's not his best jacket.
They look like they've been at Burning Man for about a week.
Yeah, especially the guy. There's one guy, I have to believe it's a wig because it's like, it's black. It's just past shoulder length, but he's got like razor bangs. It's like...
Okay, so for those of you who are trying to imagine these recessives, just imagine the like unfrozen caveman lawyer sketch from like Saturday Night Live
on Dolph Lundgren's body,
but like big.
They gave them all
orbital brow ridges and
the prominent ridge.
Yeah,
one guy had prosthetic teeth. It looked like
they don't say it directly, but the implication is that they've devolved. The normal humans, quote unquote, they actually say normal humans, which is deeply problematic.
Yeah, there's a lot about this.
Where the normal humans are these beautiful, immortal, never aging, like white people, and all of the vicious evil characters living out in the waste with no civilization but guns are all very brown, very sort of like prominent feature. Oh, it's a mess.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful mess. The 90s.
So they show up. The husband pops out with his own nice gun and his very clean overalls. Gets promptly taken out. The lady of the farm gets shoved over and gets her head bonked on a rock. And then when they show up in their happy camper vans,
these like weird armored campers that drive up, and all these people in deep blue and gray camo hop out. They all have these
scouters.
Like,
oh my god,
scouters. These like little Google Glass type
over
things
their left eyes.
Yeah, they completely cover their eye. And I know that in the fiction of this world that they probably are getting some sort of like good readouts on them.
I'd hope so, but like they never established that. As far as the only thing they actually established is that it's a camera for back at the control camper.
Yeah.
So they could be completely blind in one eye.
I feel so bad for all of these poor actors who had to do multiple scenes running around doing stunts with only one eye.
And because of that, they all have Solid Snake headbands to keep everything in place.
Oh yeah, it's so perfect. Actually, they all do kind of dress like Solid Snake from one of the earlier Metal Gears, probably like Metal Gear 3.
Yeah,
like just imagine like a Metal Gear 3 with a blue and gray urban camo. I don't know where that camo would be effective.
I don't know. It looks like Navy camo, like what they would just wear on the ship. That's not their just clothes, but I don't know enough about that.
Who are the primary squad members that we see?
We see a group of people, just I guess red shirts, pop out first, and they go off, and then out of the hatch of the main van, we see our main character. We don't know his name yet, but the camera does the slow upwards so you can get the chin.
It's 100% a hero shot.
It's a hero shot through and through of our main character, played by Kevin Conroy. If you don't know who that is, he's voiced Batman since Batman the Animated Series throughout pretty much every animated appearance he's ever been in.
Bless Kevin Conroy.
Bless him. And he's just super jacked in this.
Yeah, but he has really terrible hair.
That balances out. And one quick note, because it took me, I've seen this a few times. It took me a few times going over this. They have like back braces around their waists.
I work at Walmart lifting heavy boxes, back braces. But on these outfits, they kind of look like future corsets, and I'm into it.
I didn't notice that. I mostly noticed that they're using them, like all their gear attaches to it, so it's their future utility belt slash corset. Their utility corset, if you will.
I mean, in the future, all technology will be sexy.
Except for the scouters.
Those things are so utterly useless. I'm just like looking at it right now on the cover to the video that they have on IMDb. There's like a laser that comes out of it.
That doesn't happen.
Never.
So he pops out. He gets his bearings, flips the scouter over his eye, and then starts talking to his mic. And then we cut to the rest of the team in the safety of the head camper. Two of our other main squad members, one played by the inimitable Eric McCormick.
When you asked me to watch this movie, I turned it on and I was like, all right, we're fighting some cavemans here. That's cool. And then, like, who pops out? But, like, Will from Will and Grace. And I'm like, what?
Yep.
Yeah, young Eric McCormick, before he just landed a very long, sassy career, was a struggling actor and just had to get whatever roles that he could. And I bet he was like super stoked because he's not like a walk-on character in this.
Oh no.
He's like kind of one of the main ensemble.
Yeah, he's a huge part of that, and in more ways than one, I think, than they meant to imply, but
Yeah, we can talk more about his character 23 later on.
When I first started watching this, I couldn't remember. I mean, I could remember 23, but I couldn't remember everyone else's characters' names, and I figured he needed a funny nickname too, so I just started calling him George Clooney.
That's pretty good, actually.
So they're in the surveillance nook of the camper van, and then we cut back out to Colonel Major Batman and main character number 4, who's going to be absent most of this episode for reasons that'll be clear eventually. Shows up. I do not remember his name at all. I just called him Missing Guy for all of my notes.
Oh yeah, Absentee Dad.
Yeah, Absentee Dad. That's even better.
They end up adding some more folks later on, but to start the film, it's
Colonel Batman,
Discount Solid Snake, George Clooney, Absentee Dad, and then
we don't know she's a doctor yet, but she's Dr. Lady. She's the team medic.
Dr. Lady. Yeah.
Slash communications.
She has this, like, great sort of like Tasha Yar hair.
Yeah, she's one of the few people in the movie with good hair.
Yeah, she has this like shortcut blonde hair that's in this like perfect bang swoop that I love. It's so good. It's so 90s, but it's entirely perfect.
Yeah. Let's see, then we come up onto a hostage situation. We get a good look at their future ray guns, which are made out of staple guns.
They're weird. They don't like have barrels.
Yeah.
They're kind of, you know, if you took a staple gun and held it up and tried to shoot people with it, instead of the normal way that you use a staple gun. Yeah.
I mean, in the joking way that people normally use a staple gun instead of the actual safe way. The correct way. So Colonel Batman takes out Caveman, and they rescue the farm lady.
Yeah, they bring her back, and they put her in the big armored camper van. Okay, let's talk about these things.
Oh, yeah.
Just imagine a very extreme 90s running shoe with wheels.
If you remember the Dodge Astro van,
yes.
Imagine like the evolved version, the Pokemon evolved version of that is the big one, and then a slightly smaller one was actually some sort of truck, I think, when I looked it up. But they managed to make them look just like the same, but one of them's much bigger.
Yeah, they're wild, and I do not know how anyone sees out of the
slits, the RoboCop visor on the front.
Yeah, because the entire front of the van is covered in this like row of armored
slats.
Slats that have these tiny slits that you can see out of. And it's supposed to be like an armored vehicle tank type thing.
Yeah.
But I think this entire opening sequence, all you know about the humans of the future is that they have very poor visibility everywhere they go.
And that's why they need all the armor. Yes, they can.
Except on their human bodies, which they wear zero armor. Like, they know they're fighting people with guns. They come out with guns like every
And
single
eyes.
time.
Guns and working eyes.
They have very good eyes.
That's true.
Like,
they don't make a big show of it, but they actually, the recessive, they stun. Because they're stunners. They only use stunners. They make a point of that. They load him up into the camper.
With the idea that they're going to experiment on him. They explicitly say, we're going to use this guy for tests. Which is a choice.
Mm-hmm. They get to it later, but there's like a protocol where when they stun one, they bring him back in, tag him, and release him back into the wild. Just in case they find a cure, so they can find everybody and cure them, is their rationale for that. But it's still really...
it's very messed up, because we'll get to it when they return to Island City, but they're like, we're not going to kill these people, but we are going to take them back for our medical crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're loading up this recessive, and the lady that like he bonked on the head, I guess. Oh, we have to like take her back or she'll die immediately.
Yeah. Then they load her into some sort of sun tanning bed in the back of the camper van.
I do like how all of the stretchers and medical gear in this are like futured up by just making them out of acrylic, like the 90s is. It's like, yes, we'll put you on this slab of acrylic. That'll be the future. And it's a wonder.
+5 medicine.
They're loading up the people that they're rescuing / kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
They realize that like one of their people is missing.
Absentee dad has gone absentee.
This is not a big field of engagement. It's like a suburban front yard.
Yeah, the entire area, including the 10x10 shack these people lived in.
Yeah, it's but like somehow out of their squad of like eight people, 8 to 10 people.
Yeah,
they managed to lose one and not find him at all.
Nope.
And it's never really explained.
He just wandered off out of camera.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the party shows up.
A bazillion of these, I just keep wanting to call them Cro-Mags.
Go for it.
Recessives, these cave people, I guess, show up with their guns, running over the hills, shooting very poorly. Like, they have a lot of guns, but they don't hit any of these people who are just standing out in the open.
Yeah, Colonel Batman nearly dodges a bullet that was like 10 feet away, and then they zoom off between some rusted out oil tanks towards our first glimpse of the city, and then they drive right into the intro.
This is not like a movie intro. This is we're a syndicated TV show, and you are watching these episodes out of order, so you have no idea what the context is. So we have to at least fill you in a little bit on what the hell the show is about, sort of intro.
Here's some choice 90s TV budget CGI along with our byline.
And then all of the actor cards with their heroic poses and pretty sweet 90s music, if I'm being honest. It's pretty good. It is the reveal that this is Island City, the city of the future.
The last bastion of, that's what they mean by island, I guess. Civilization in an uncivilized world.
Yeah, it is a real choice to not have any water in this show called Island City.
I'm sure I saw a fountain somewhere.
Internally, yes. In the future, the only water will be in malls.
Yeah.
If you asked me before I watched this what I would expect from a place called Island City, this would not be what I would first think.
Palm trees, perhaps.
I think there was a palm tree in one of the atriums of the mall.
I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, like an actual island, not a metaphorical island.
Yeah, and I'm all for metaphor. Do not get me wrong. But it is a wild choice because I think the humans refer to it as Island City too, right?
That's what they call it.
Yeah, everyone's agreed that, like, no, we're going to call this place Island City. And so this is not just a ramshackle, like, outpost frontier, sort of like zombie apocalypse type settlement. This is just like a
Full on.
city ass city.
It's Delta City, the model from. I mean, it's not actually that, but it's that vision of the future.
Escalators.
Escalators. There's a pyramid-shaped building that's cut in half for some reason. There's
Yeah,
monorails.
all of the sort of like establishing art for Island City looks like it would be a very cool trapper keeper
Mm.
or in the background of like robot unicorn attack. It has that sort of like retro futuristic late 80s early 90s vibe.
It's positively dripping with it, like
It is.
everything, and then the level of technology I just remembered is a little odd because they have magic doors.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So they straight up have teleporters. I never really understood why they have those.
I don't know. There's
Because I don't know how like I don't know how big Island City is, but like you could just take a car.
The opening has a monorail, like a nice little model monorail, so it's at least big enough for that. But for some reason, they have a machine that'll create a doorway to another part of the city through a science
Yeah.
field.
I think it's just because Star Trek had teleporters and they're just like, we want to establish that like we're at least as cool as Star Trek.
It has to be because they only use them on screen twice, I think.
Hmm. And never for really anything important.
Yeah,
Like anytime that the magic door appears, they could have just used a car. Pretty much like all they do in the city when they get back is just argue about finding absentee dad.
they ziplock the little house on the prairie mom who got the bonk. They put her in a Ziploc bag and then they run a UV light over her wound.
Because that's how future medicine works.
They put like a plastic ice cube on one of her temples, and then it's just gone. And they throw the recessive they got into what looks like a porta potty with one side cut out, and there's a force field keeping him in.
It's like right in the middle of the main thoroughfare, though.
Just right in the cargo bay.
It is. You see him in the background of like half the shots where they're just like talking about stuff. They don't have like a jail. They're like, we just put him over there by the fuel barrels.
Yeah, he's just standing around looking confused, occasionally touching the force field, and then they flash like a camera or something to pretend that something's going on.
Yeah, I think there's like one soldier whose job it is to sort of like effectively poke him with a future stick every once in a while.
Just to make sure he doesn't fall asleep. Then we get a long, heartfelt conversation between Colonel Batman and George Clooney. We get a brief glimpse into his shtick, where he's very smart and has a lot of potential, but he's clumsy and doesn't apply himself.
They make him out to be very weak and useless, but he takes off his shirt a lot in this movie, and he's like,
yeah,
he's pretty
ripped.
toned.
Yeah.
So, like, apparently those muscles are entirely for show.
And we get what I feel is the very first side. I don't know what kind of shape this ends up being because I haven't plotted it out that much, but the very first side of the relationship network of this between Colonel Batman and Val Doon, where there's a very heartfelt want for him to be better. It really feels like they have a connection.
Yeah, pretty much everyone is thirsty for everyone else in this. Yeah, it's all just like one-sided though. This person wants this person, but this person wants this person, but this person wants this person. Except for like, I don't think Batman wants anybody. Like,
he
really.
seems to reciprocate George Clooney's feelings a little bit. At least I feel like he does. But he's definitely not into anyone else. Not Dr. Lady, who is dying of thirst.
Yeah, their entire family is deeply thirsty.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so that pioneer lady that steps through the portal when we get the rest of the patients through the magic gate, is someone that the doctor recognizes as she's treating one of the other patients.
Yep, she's bedraggled. She's wearing what appears to be some sort of peach-colored smock.
There's a lot of smocks in
There's
this.
a lot of smocks.
Her very short in comparison sister.
Yeah, they don't look too much alike. Like
No.
I could believe they're sisters maybe, but
Yeah, so the idea was that they took this immortality serum at the same time 30 years ago,
mm-hmm.
uh, and they got split up. One became some sort of soldier doctor, and then the other became a pioneer woman.
Fulfilling her lifelong dream of being in a Laura Ingalls Wilder novel.
So they have a reunion, and like she's kind of our audience surrogate, right?
Yeah.
She's the one that is a speaking character with a name whose name I do not remember, but that's fine.
If you held a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you. And I've watched this.
Yeah. So anyway, Thirsty Sister is our audience surrogate. She is the one that like everyone explains how this future society works to, and she gets to gasp at all of the things that we find fantastical.
Yeah.
But mostly she just stands around just lusting after everything with two legs that walks by.
Mostly Commander Batman.
Mm-hmm. But also random strangers.
Yeah,
well.
There's a lot of that. And then she just sort of latches onto him once they meet up. They have a very heartfelt hug.
And then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you all treated up, and then we'll go out and we'll have some fun later on.
We'll get you some real people clothes, and we'll hit the Galleria."
In the meanwhile, I think there's some angst going on between George Clooney and having to tell absentee dad's family that he has gone absentee on them.
That was part of the him and Colonel Batman's moment before.
Mm-hmm.
After Sister Lady meets Dr. Lady, then we cut to absentee dad's very present family.
His wife, the mother of this teenage boy, is there, and she is like a very 90s like power executive looking lady.
Yeah,
she looks like she works in publishing.
Yeah, or it's like a very well off agent, I would imagine.
Yeah, like a very good real estate broker of some sort.
She comes in to see her teenage son doing VR right on the couch.
Which, gross.
Just, you have a room.
Do a VR.
Yeah.
Like, go to your room. Okay, but he's like, "No, Mom. No, I'm not doing VR. I'm doing my homework assignment." And his homework assignment is supposedly something in VR, and she's like, "Do I trust this?" The first introduction we get of her is like her putting on this VR headset and then hopping into VR with her teenage son, and then getting hit on by a super horny Abraham Lincoln. Was it Abraham Lincoln?
It is Abraham Lincoln. It is very green screened.
Yeah. So, like, supposedly he was, like, there interviewing Abraham Lincoln for class or something, but Abraham Lincoln's just like, "Hello. Hi. Hello, lady.
I didn't know this young man had a sister."
Yeah. It's wild. So wild. Everyone in this show, in this movie, in this chuvy, is, like, super horny on Maine all the time. I guess it's the future. There aren't that many people left, so like they got to just pump in like aphrodisiac chemicals in the water.
And it was the 90s, and everything needed to be quote unquote sexy.
Yeah,
just TV. But then George Clooney shows up to spoil the mood and break the bad news to absentee family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get the reveal that like she used to be a soldier at some point, and then she wanted to stay behind in order to take care of her son.
Yeah.
And make sure that one of the parents was still there for him if things went bad. But now she's like, "Oh no, find my husband, please."
Yeah, and then we get some teen angst from Absentee Boy. This is also the first real glimpse we get of the chest jewels that'll come up later.
Yeah, they don't really talk about them, and you kind of just think that, man, these people have some weird taste in jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you imagine one of the, like...
The Big Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah, a big Jolly Rancher, but kind of shaped like a Twix, or not a Twix, like a Kit Kat.
Yeah,
Made out of Jolly Rancher on your sternum.
yeah,
Uh,
right on the bone.
yeah, that is pretty much the thing that all of these people have, but they don't talk about it until
You
a
really
scene
don't
later
see
on.
it, I've noticed, until George Clooney shows up to break the bad news.
Hmm.
And it's just absentee mom and absentee boy who have it.
So this entire show is about genetics, and it's about like the ramifications of like all of these different things. But their main cast, who they want to reflect some of these things, is always wearing uniforms that you can never see their damn little signifiers of their genetic codes. So many choices.
So many, there's a lot of decisions, but then we cut back to the command center, I'm assuming, and everybody's in their
Mm-hmm.
work casual, which is just without the uniform top, so they all have either tank tops or t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to just see, Colonel Batman being ripped as hell. And we get our first glimpse of Dr. Lady's chest jewel. She has a lovely blue jewel. Then we get to the sister date, and we get our first real glimpse of the inside of the city, and it is very the mall.
It is very much just like a multi-tiered, open sort of like atrium area, escalator. It was, just imagine a SoCal shopping mall from the 90s, and that is where they are having this sister date.
Lots of
Hmm.
linoleum, lots of water features. There's an ice skating rink in the background. I just noticed.
Yeah, no, it's just a regular old mall. Like if there was a Claire's and an Auntie Anne's
Anti-ants.
pretzel shop like in the background, I would not be surprised in the
Yeah.
slightest. Thirsty Sister's like, yeah, let's go and meet some mans. And
I need some miles.
like I've been out in the desert by myself for a very long time, and I just need some mans.
Yeah.
Clearly she has been dressing from like the discount rack where Dr. Lady she is very chic, right? She's couture. She's got like this like shawl thing over
Yeah.
this like low cut black geometric number. It's wonderful.
Thirsty Sister has the not too prominent shoulder pads, sort of a high
Mhm.
collar and a very low cut button up thing blouse, I guess.
Yeah, she looks fine, but it's like going to
She's
like a Amway
yeah,
sales thing as opposed to like we're going to the club.
yeah. She's dressed. Dr. Lady is dressed to impress. They cut to the command center. George Clooney has an epiphany, and then he scans their boxed Cro-Magnon man.
This is where we established that that 23, the clone character, is very brilliant.
Mhm.
He's there because of his brain, and really not for any other reason.
Yep.
Because he's useless physically.
We scan, we get a glimmer of hope about absentee dad, and then we cut immediately back to the mall. And then we're introduced to the second instant of the magical wall, where they go up to an information kiosk.
Oh yeah, no, they were just selecting a restaurant to go to, right?
Well, she goes up,
Via the magic door.
she just says the Wall Club, and then types something in, and then poof, there's the doorway, and there's like neon lights around it, and then it closes, and we hold for a second, and then the thing that stuck with me the most was thank you for using AT&T.
Yeah, that was so wild. Like, I was like, is this product placement? Is this sponsored? And I tried really hard to remember when like Bell had been broken up. That's not the only time that AT&T stuff appears in this movie.
Yeah.
It like appears later on.
Oh, yeah.
I guess you gotta get paid somehow, right? Like you gotta make your budget for this weird pilot, but it's so jarring to think that Sure, society has changed in every other aspect of life.
But capitalism.
But AT&T's still around.
Yep.
That's the only brand we see in the movie of any sort.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. Wow.
It's very weird because like this is sort of like early mid 90s where you're not too far off from like Demolition Man, right? Where there was this idea of like dystopian brand future, but they're just like, no, we're just gonna play this entirely straight.
I mean, it might be that they try to get other brand deals, and AT&T was the only one that bit the hook
through the services of AT&T, which I guess now that I'm thinking about it, invented this magic door technology.
I have
right,
to.
like that's the implication.
Or they're licensing it or something.
So the Wall Club is kind of weird.
It's where we get a lot of the meat of what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of exposition dump. Functionally, I understand what the Wall Club is, right? It's like 10 forward. It is the downtime space where the characters no longer are doing their job, but like can really talk about their feelings, talk about the state of the world, talk about things that are that would be awkward to talk about, like when a bunch of Cro-Mags are coming down and trying to like ineffectually shoot you.
Yeah. This first time we're here is mostly so that the lay of the land can be given to Sister Lady and us by extension.
Yeah. It starts off with Sister Lady being like, this club's really weird. It's like split up into a bunch of different sections, but like I want to hit on these random mans who actually a random guy came over and hit on Dr. Lady.
Yeah, and then Sister Lady hits on him back after trying to catch the rebound there after Dr. Lady denies.
Yeah, shameless. She's like, props to her. That is some energy I want to take with me into 2020 whatever year we emerge from this. And she is resoundingly rebuffed by this guy.
He almost looks frightened, I think. And then we get a nice, long, sort of simple explanation about why everyone has jewels and the meaning, not the meanings behind the color, but why they're colored. And it just kind of brings up like the whole point of the Wall Club that they don't really say explicitly, but is there nonetheless. So everybody at a certain age gets their jewel put on their chest. And the jewel is a visual indicator of their genes, I guess. And by law, you can only breed with someone who has the same color gem as you. And that's why the club is split up, because it's basically, they don't say it, but it's there to hook up. You're there to hook up with people. If someone were to breed with someone of a different colored gem, then that would produce someone with recessive genes, and they don't want that.
Effectively, they have created new genders. If you want to produce a viable offspring of your species at this point, this is the fork in the road for the species. Again, eugenics is deeply disturbing because the whole idea is we do not want to produce any more of them.
Yeah.
It's real gross.
I want to believe the writer did not purposefully set about creating this future where eugenics is the only good in the world.
It's literally a like miscegenation situation. And you see it in a lot of sci-fi written by people from relatively privileged backgrounds who are enamored with ideas, but don't super think through the sort of real world ways in which those ideas have been implemented in the past.
Or they just, for whatever reason, don't, like, they're privileged enough to not make those connections.
Yeah, and there was no one in the staff willing or able to tell them, maybe don't do that, because that's a real bad idea. So Sister rebuffed. She can't get any nookie until she gets her gem.
Yeah.
If you imagine like Steven Universe, where all the crystal gems have these gems embedded in them that like tell you everything about who they are and where they came from. That's kind of the situation that they set up here.
It's really like a dark, twisted version of that.
Yeah.
Because of the laws and the, eugenics. And then we get a quick cut back to headquarters where the chief, she calls in, and I think she's saying you're getting a new guy. It's been too long. Absentee dad's been absentee dad too absentee long.
Because they only have a certain amount of time to go rescue absentee dad for a variety of reasons. The first being that people that live in the cities or who were born in the city, I guess, I'm not entirely sure. There's something about like the pure humans, when they go out into the waste, they don't have the antibodies for most of the diseases and things that are floating out in the wilderness. And so they take these booster shots that only last 48 hours. And then after that 48 hours, they'll basically succumb to a host of horrible diseases.
And Command has decided it's been too long. You don't have enough time to rescue him, so we got to replace him with another guy. And we get a good look at the organization's symbol here. It's a Triforce with another smaller triangle in the center. And the initials RCF, which are never explained.
I did wonder about that because I was like, Royal Canadian Foresters.
My explanation is it's never explained.
That's fair.
They don't explain what that means, who's actually in charge of civilization, much less like at the top of the military hierarchy. Yeah. There's a lot of unanswered questions that I think they were just banking on getting, more time to explore.
And the other reason that they couldn't go out after the guy immediately was there was an O storm.
Which they also don't explain.
Yeah. I'm going to say that O probably stands for ozone.
That was my guess. They kind of get caught in one later. It's sort of like an electrical storm, like a lightning storm, but they don't say what that means or where they come from or why they show up. I mean, it's pretty obvious why they're bad, but...
The world is borked.
Yeah.
In addition to the genetics and the chromags and everything else, also the environment failed, and also there are these weird storms.
Yeah, like maybe it's, the pollution got to a point, and then we got to the immortality drug just in time to not be able to do anything about the environment, and then that went from there, I guess. But there's just this huge question mark over what happened between when everything went sideways and when the show starts.
That could definitely have been interesting to explore if they'd gotten the chance, but spoilers, they never got the chance.
During the intro, there is a minute or two of footage that shows up there that is nowhere in this episode. So either it's just something they got cut or they actually had more filmed that never got to air.
Oh, I'm sure there's probably like a bazillion feet of B-roll somewhere in some like production house basement that they bought in some fire sale.
And then Colonel Batman is understandably upset because he's friends with absentee dad. And then we cut to a really nice shot of the spotlights that protect the city in a nice big... I guess that they connect up into a large ring. It protects the city from O-storms as well as keeps out the undesirables. And we get some really, really nice exterior shots of the broken pyramid and some sort of neon skyscraper. And it's very, very 90s, the future. We get to Dr. Lady's house and we meet her husband.
He's an octogenarian.
Yep. And while everyone in the show is supposed to be old, he's the only one that is made to look it. I watched this over and over again, and I can't tell if he's just a weird-looking old person or if that's a young actor in prosthetics.
I think it's a young actor in prosthetics because they show him in a flashback, I think, where he's the younger actor. But yeah, he's just this like lumpy old man. When Dr. Lady married him, was of contemporaneous age, but chose not to take the immortality drug because of a variety of both like skeptical and ethical reasons.
It sounded like it was almost religious, like he had something against it, like maybe he was a Christian scientist or something, but they never...
He's definitely got this very strong anti-transhumanist position where he believes that humanity ended with the introduction of this immortality serum, even though the people who survived it and still look like regular humans but are effectively ageless immortals, they look and act like humans. They are no longer humans. That is his thesis. He's like, I'm the only one left. I'm not one of you monsters.
You took the drug and it was bad and wrong, and now I'm deflated Mr. Rogers and I'm upset about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's got this huge chip on his shoulder, and he's also, on top of that, super jealous.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm a crusty old man. And she's like, you don't gotta be a crusty old man, crusty old man. He's like, no, I'm not gonna sacrifice my humanity. And she's like, well, okay, well, we'll try to make this work. How about I come back in and, like, we pretend like we didn't fight? And he's like, no, how about you don't come back in? He's such a character.
Yeah, they were definitely planning on doing something with that and him and all that. I can definitely see an episode where he finally tries the drug out and things go wrong or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, because it's actually a nice sort of like foil, right? Because it keeps her and Colonel Batman from, well, okay, spoilers for the next scene.
The very next scene, as it turns out.
Yeah, but that's the person that he's jealous of. He's jealous of her spending time with her boss, effectively.
Yeah. She comes back from the club and he's all like, you saw him again, didn't you?
Yeah. And
it's like, yes, I see him at work every day.
Yeah. He's literally my boss, dude. It's just get over it. But, jealous guy. He still has, like everyone in the society still has his crystal. Yeah. Which is an interesting concept because, like, apparently even those past the breeding age and before the breeding age still carry those crystals. So it's just a lifelong thing. Like, the teenage boy has one. Yeah.
He definitely, yep. And fashion has evolved to keep up with the needs of being able to see your chest gem. Dr. Lady's power outfit has it's a shape. It's an odd shape.
Yeah, it sort of like boob window. This like keyhole cut out.
Yeah, it was an excuse to give all of your sexy actors boob windows, as I feel like that was
including Eric McCormick.
Yep.
Because, like, even the men in this, like, wear a lot of, like, kimonos and like Henleys and other things with, like, boob window cutouts. Just
really low-cut tank tops.
Yeah, imagine, like, Picard from that one episode where he got the flute. and that's pretty much what they're all wearing is like weird future robes.
I caught one guy when they were on the escalators. He had a regular button-up shirt, but the top segment of buttons was just cut away in a rectangle shape. So it was still, like, tailored to not be, like, cut, but it was, hemmed properly to show off his gem, even though it was just a regular button-up shirt.
It's so wild. Why didn't they just give people earrings or
a forehead gem?
Literally anything else.
Eye color.
The question that I have is, if it is that important by law, and you know what the consequences are, like, why does it need to be displayed all the time? Why can't this just be like a thing that you turn on when you are looking to bone, right? Like in the club or whatever. But the implication is,
have your gem color on your Tinder profile.
You need to know which of your coworkers you can find.
Yep. Oh my god, it didn't quite occur to me, but yeah.
It's a time-honored tradition of bad workplace romances, but, like, this is explicitly part of their culture. That, like, if you're gonna do it, at least do it with someone that, like,
be safe about
has a compatible color.
Match your gems.
Also, there's another implication in this world that no methods of aborting a pregnancy exist.
Yeah. There's a lot of unanswered questions. That being in one.
Any homosexuality of any sort.
That one I kind of understand a little bit, just because it was the 90s on network television. But yeah, like...
Sure. Yeah, like I get it, and even from an like in-world perspective, I could be like, all right, we're gonna just mandate that like this is we just need people to produce more humans because we just don't have enough humans to sustain Island City. And so, like, regardless of what your sexual preferences are, you just got to produce some babies, and
Yeah.
this is part of the fabric of the culture. You know, this is your this is your active duty service. At some point, we may call you and draft you to produce some offspring. My headcanon is that like there is plenty of queer activity in the
Yeah.
background. People just don't talk about it because it just doesn't matter to
Yeah.
the caste system that they've set up.
This weird segregation, even though people aren't technically separated all the time. And I mean, it's almost kind of like you could just be with whoever orientation, who you're attracted to, wouldn't really matter unless you're trying to have a kid.
We never actually see any sort of government
Yeah,
other than this sort of like military.
and not even very high up, just like Colonel Batman's immediate superior, and then that's it.
There's so many questions that I have, like why the only sort of force that we see is entirely non-violent or not non-lethal, right? Although, granted, a lot of people that get stunned fall off of things, so
Or onto things.
or onto things. Like you never see any sort of like defense force per se, right? You don't see people manning turrets. You don't see anyone
Any
like
kind of standing force other than the search and rescue teams that go out.
Mhm.
Yeah, they pretty much only use non-lethal. They only have that one scene where someone almost shoots someone to death on their side.
Yeah.
And that's immediately shut down.
Yeah.
Um,
And we'll touch on that very shortly.
Not too much longer. But first, we have to go meet up with, or have Dr. Later having a moment because her husband's a jackass, and
Yeah, her husband boots her out. He's like,
he slams
I don't
the
care where you-
sliding Star Trek doors.
yeah, it just looks like a bathroom. He just looks like he's like going in to take a very long shower.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically like, don't come back. I don't care where you sleep, but you're not doing it here. And
then
so where does she go?
We actually cut to absentee boy, and he's doing some VR.
Yeah. So his VR, which again he's doing on the couch in the middle of their living room.
Which is right in front of the front door, too. Just so it's in full view of everything.
Like, do these people actually have rooms? Or is everybody just in like a single open plan house?
There's like a big living room, and then it looks like there's bedrooms off to the side, but we never go into them. Dr. Oldman slams the doors to his, which are double doors that slide for some reason.
Yeah, I think they're all kind of modeled after next gen type crew quarters, where it's like it's a big single room off of a hallway of some sort that like is yours, and maybe if you have a family, a divider or two, but it doesn't feel like a house structure of any sort. It feels like just quarters or like a hotel room almost.
It's like a studio apartment at best. We never see any facilities or bathrooms. You can kind of see into a bedroom, and there's sliding glass doors, but his absentee is told off by his mom not to do that in the living room.
But he straight up does it in the living room, and that's such a choice. Is this where you see him at the pool?
You see him, and we get a glimpse of his, I'm assuming his dream girl. I guess he mentions he just found the program somewhere. And then we get, that great shot of where he's obviously someplace else, and he does the hand to the side, hover handing the head, mimicking pulling the headset off so they can cut to him actually pulling a headset off in another location. Because his mom's telling him not to do that on the couch.
He's just like, Mom, I got needs. I got needs, Mom.
Dad's not here. I've got angst.
Yeah. she's growing increasingly more concerned about her very horny on main son.
Yeah.
So, she's clamoring for some action.
I mean, it seems like he's just being influenced by everyone else around him. So,
yeah, he's. I'm not going to say he was my favorite character of the cast, TBH.
Then we got to Colonel Batman's studio apartment and his choice of robe.
I'm trying to remember what it was, but as I recall, it was just kind of an open kimono robe type situation.
I've got it pulled up right here. It is kind of a turquoise teal with satiny lapels. It's a very satiny kind of kimono with big diamond cutouts along each arm, about from wrist to I want to say mid bicep.
It's kind of like the sexy Riker kimono. It's very much that vibe where they're like, no, our leading man can be sensual and seductive.
I think that was the byline for the scene. He sits down in a lovely leather recliner with a glass of wine and a future glass, and his kimono obviously doesn't go much past his knees.
Yeah, it's really a choice. And he's like in some, I guess, also virtual face type thing, or he just has like a screensaver of the woods.
It's like a TV, and then he just turns it to the Colorado channel. To a nice, there's a lake and snow and some mountains, and also trees without any snow on them.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like almost a faux holodeck, but it definitely just comes off as he's just watching a nature channel.
If this were now, he would just be watching nature out the window, but he lives in a studio apartment deep in the heart of the mall.
Yeah, this is his dystopian YouTube channel that he like turns to when he needs like a little bit of nature in his life. But he's interrupted by a knock on the door.
A whoosh of the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think she even knocks. She just like comes right in.
She just barges right in.
Which is a choice. Because like, this is like your boss's house.
Yeah.
He's not wearing pants.
He is very much not wearing pants. And they are very much off not duty. Or not on duty, but
yeah.
That's still her boss.
Still your boss, but like I get that there's this whole tension between them. They sort of imply that there has been some sort of something going on, like at least flirting wise. But they've never really gone anywhere with it. But there's this level of intimacy that you see between those two characters that like is actually pretty decent chemistry from the actors.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I really appreciated about the whole show. Is just everybody's given like 110%, except maybe the kid. Everybody's just...
Yeah, they're... A lot of people are swinging for the fences. Some people are chewing scenery real hard, but like, God bless.
Yeah. I think the first time it really felt like he was not interested, but now I'm kind of feeling that there is definitely something there, and the only real thing that's keeping them apart is, that he's her boss, that she's married.
It feels like if she weren't married, like if that guy dropped dead tomorrow, the whole hierarchy thing wouldn't matter at all, and they'd be like, what sort of workplace dynamics? It's fine.
Yeah,
it's the future. We need to produce more children.
She sits exactly too close, puts her arm around his back, and then just kind of casually caresses his chest gem, and then just stares directly into his soul.
Well, because before she was like straight up just massaging because apparently he has a bad shoulder or something, and so she just has to just give it constant massages medically.
Yeah, medical 100% medicine massages for medicine only.
Yeah, I guess her plan was to go over there and sleep in his
house.
Like, question mark?
Yeah.
Like, but they never get to that point.
No. They have a moment where they're just kind of inches from someone just pushing their faces together.
But he's got to shut it down. He's got to be the
Honorable Wayne.
forthright, like law-abiding man.
I have to set an example for reasons. Important reasons. And then she's upset that they can't just, go for it.
To be fair, she's been making some pretty obvious passes. Like, this family is not, her and her sister were not raised to be subtle about what they want.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're putting up our flag here and saying, come get it.
Yep.
Doors are open.
Oh, yeah. The family motto is go for it, I think. An absentee wife steps in. I believe this is the part when she says she wants back in to help find absentee dad.
She's right in saying that, like, you guys don't look like you're searching very hard for my missing husband, who is on a ticking deadline where he will become horribly disease-ridden and die if you don't do something, and you sit around in your kimono watching the Nature Channel.
Yep.
Fraternizing. Like,
Also, I think radiation's involved somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some combination of like storm, disease, radiation. Basically, the outside is hostile, right? Like the air is lava, and you only have 48 hours with these booster shots in order to not fall to bits. But only if you were born in the city, because the pioneers live out there, but they don't have boosters.
They're fine.
They're perfectly fine.
The pioneer lady we met at the beginning, she has 2 kids, and I don't think she had a gem. I don't think her husband had a gem. How are they going to deal with those kids?
Those kids seem fine, I guess. Yeah. There are all these like deep implications of those are probably the only 2 kids that she kept.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
oh yeah, they have a big hole underneath their house.
Yes. Right. Well, and that's not even their house. They found that house. They just got there.
Right.
Apparently,
they just found their shack.
No one can really homestead anywhere for very long without just being raided by Cro-Mags. And so let's actually get into that, because I never really either. But you are settlers, or you are pioneer people in the waste. You haven't made it to Island City. You don't know anything at all about genetics or recessives. You just know that these like horrible monster people are out there.
Or even maybe they know, but they don't want to go to Island City for whatever reason. I feel like that was an implication at some point. Like, some people just don't want to go to Island City.
I mean, it is a totalitarian, like, genetic determinism, eugenics land. So
sure, they got fountains, but whatever.
Yeah, sure, they got fountains, but there are no queer people there. But it's been 30 years, and so that's been plenty of time for people on the outside to breed with one another continually. And wait,
I think I know what you're struggling.
Well, no, because the idea is that this injection that everyone got,
they never say what it is.
They never say what it is, but it causes this recessive trait.
It reacts to.
It reacts to these recessive genes that you have and causes this particular expression of whatever.
Yeah.
But for the pioneer people who never take the shot, their children never have the chance to take the shot. So either you are entirely safe unless you take this immortality drug, or everyone is totally boned because it has become airborne, and therefore that is the reason why you need these strict genetic controls.
Yeah, I mean, because they never explain exactly what it is or how it's administered. It could be in the air, or they just threw it in the water supply one day or something, and that's why there's still more water.
Like, that's so either It's a voluntary thing which you can never partake in, and so therefore you will be subject to the cycle of death. Or it is an involuntary thing, and people have been producing these Cro-Mag children who then they have to deal with in the 30 years since this started. It becomes our children are not what we are anymore. They're not the thing that we think is human. What happens? And that's real fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, that's deeply, like, if you want to talk about, like, very disturbing queer analogies, they definitely didn't think through this show enough.
Yeah.
Like we are two random yahoos who just watched this thing. and even like we haven't really talked about it since we watched it. This is our first time really like discussing with one another, and if it becomes apparent to us how deeply wrong literally all of this is in this short amount of time, an entire production crew worth of people someone must have been like, but wait.
But what of the children's? I don't know.
So now I can understand why all of those recessive people in the wasteland are super angry and super wanting to just like shoot all of the people who probably are imposing fascist controls to try to eliminate the genetic line. That's
oh god,
so much.
I don't remember, and I could be misbraining this, but I think they mentioned like one of the standard procedures when they bring them in, besides tagging them, which is in and of itself, is sterilizing them.
Yeah. It's oops, we did a fascism.
Yeah.
And we made them the heroes. Oops.
It's entirely it's somehow overthought and underthought at the same time in very, very large amounts.
Yeah. And like, there are ways to kind of like overinterpret things, right? Like,
yeah,
if you wanted to say, you could read a lot into like the 80s cartoon He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a lot of sort of like cherry picking and going around the text. This is the literal text. These are the things that they say in the show about what they value as human and what they don't. We'll see shortly how they treat people who are not what they consider human.
Oh, yeah. I could have sworn he said something, but then, he says that, but they're basically treating them the way, even a vegetarian might treat an animal. Mm-hmm. I suppose. Like, there's definitely a them versus us thing very clearly going on, and not just because of everything going on.
Hi everyone, Kate here. This episode ran a bit long, so we decided to split it up into 2 parts. So tune in next time for part 2 of Island City. All right, well, I'm Kate, and you can find me on the internet at Army of Meat on Twitter, Instagram, other places.
And I'm Sky. I live on Twitter. You can find me at shard_corso. That's SHARD_CORSO.